Ari and Charlie, stay with me on this. Joining me also now on this is Florida Congressman Byron Donalds from the House Oversight Committee, who just walked off the floor. Congressman Donalds, when we look back and we hear the cries of grieving mothers whose sons and daughters were murdered, or murdered in a traditional sense, or murdered through fentanyl pills that have been smuggled across the border with greater ease because of Joe Biden, they came to Capitol Hill just recently and said impeachment is our only remedy at this point. That really hit me.
Well, look, Laura, to those mothers, to those families that have lost loved ones to this crisis that has afflicted them, that's been brought to them by Joe Biden, we have answered that call. Alejandro Mayorkas has been impeached, and now the Senate needs to go ahead and do their due diligence on this, because what has happened to our southern border is a travesty. It is a man-made crisis. It is a political crisis brought to us by the Democrats and Joe Biden, and the American people deserve better. House Republicans stand with them to make sure that we're going to do everything we can to secure our nation.
DHS just responded to this impeachment vote by saying House Republicans will be remembered by history for trampling on the Constitution for political gain rather than working to solve the serious challenges at our border. This is laughable. Without a shred of evidence or legitimate constitutional grounds, and despite bipartisan opposition, House Republicans have falsely smeared a dedicated public servant who spent more than 20 years enforcing our laws and serving our country. Secretary Mayorkas and the Department of Homeland Security will continue working every day to keep Americans safe. Congressman, he's working hard for the American people.
No, he's working hard for the drug cartels, and he's working hard for the radical left, because that is what his actions have produced. The White House and the Department of Homeland Security can put out whatever statement they want, but the facts are Alejandro Mayorkas has been derelict in his duty. He has not followed the essence of federal law. He has not made sure to secure this nation. He has followed Joe Biden and his terrible, reckless policy, and he deserves to be held accountable today, and we delivered that.
Just over the weekend, Mayorkas spoke out about the border, and he said this.
It certainly is a crisis, and we don't bear responsibility for a broken system, and we're doing a tremendous amount within that broken system. But fundamentally, Congress is the only one who can fix it.
Really? It seemed like Donald Trump had a pretty good handle on the border in 2019 and 2018 when they did remain in Mexico and Title 42. Congressman, I mean, they never bear responsibility, not for inflation, not for the money that Hunter got from the Chinese, and certainly not for the open border that is an open sewer into the United States of criminality.
It's just a flat out joke. They are living in bizarro world. I don't know what they're looking at. Even if you look back to the 4 years of Donald Trump, there was never a year where there were more than 1 million encounters at our southern border. Under Joe Biden, every year has been over 1 million. This year, we're on pace to get to 2.7, close to 3 million. Now we're having incursions of the northern border. This is a flat out joke. And they continue to live by the talking points of these radical left open borders groups that have been wanting this very policy for decades in the United States. But the American people are sick of it. That is bipartisan across the board. The polling dictates that. The stories from families in Denver, in Boston, in New York dictates that. And the House of Representatives is going to stand by the American people. We need him removed. We need somebody in that job that's going to secure the nation.
Well, they needed that talking point, they thought, Congressman. They feel like they got a talking point when that so-called phony border bill was tanked in the House last week. I thought it was great news because it actually would have continued the flow of migrants, maybe managed it a little bit differently, but millions of people would have still been allowed to come in for years. And it was a sunsetting bill anyway in 3 years. But they think that's their talking point, that they can hold that up as a shield. You all refused to vote for that compromise, and that would have made a big difference at the border, Congressman.
No, I totally agree. The only things that are going to really help are putting the Trump policies back in place. Look, I know it's a presidential year. I know Joe Biden and the Democrats don't want to admit it, but Donald Trump was right. The border was secured. Everybody understood that. And now the pain being borne by our cities and our states because of this terrible policy cannot be ignored. So here's the deal. Let me lay this out for Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas. Secure the border. I know the Senate passed their bill over there, $95 billion. I'm going to tell you right now, we're not listening to that in the House. Secure the border, then we can talk about other things. Until then, Washington does not deserve any more of the people's money because Joe Biden has failed the United States of America.
Yeah, shoveling money out the door that we don't have as our country is being invaded. Congressman, thank you. We're going to go back to Ari and Charlie.